Dayo froze as the man's slap stung her face. She gripped the steering wheel, her heart pounding, the echo of his words blending with the honking horns around her. "Reverse now, idiot, or we'll teach you a lesson." Another shout, and then the men stepped out of the van. Dayo's mind raced, her anger bubbling, but fear kept her rooted. She swallowed her pride, reversed the car, and watched in horror as the chaos unfolded. Gunshots rang out, screams filled the air, and Dayo bent low, praying to God and her late mother Sarah to save her life. Dayo, Ayo, and Biola were born into a modest home in Ondo State, Nigeria. Their mother, Sarah, was their anchor. She was a tall, dark-skinned woman whose presence lit up any room. Life had been a constant struggle for their family. Their father, Samuel, had abandoned them when Biola, the youngest, was diagnosed with sickle cell disease. He couldn't bear the weight of medical bills and the emotional toll. Sarah never let her daughters feel unloved. She worked tirelessly, selling cloth and food items in the bustling markets. She always dressed in gold Ankara, a reminder of her inner strength and resilience. The sisters, though raised with little, had each other and their mother's love. Dayo, the eldest, was calm and responsible, always caring and hardworking. Ayo, the middle child, was cheerful and loved singing, and Biola, the youngest, was bold, fashionable, and very playful despite her frail health. When Sarah passed away in a tragic accident, their world crumbled. She had taken a neighbor's 6-year-old child, BC, along for a trip to buy palm oil. A trailer lost control and rammed into their car, killing BC instantly. Sarah's injuries were severe, but it was the weight of guilt that crushed her spirit. In her last moments, she held Dayo's hand and whispered, "Forgive me. Please take care of your sisters." She closed her eyes and never woke again. The sisters cried for months. Sarah was everything to them. They mourned not just her death, but the loss of the chance to repay her sacrifices. At 24, 20, and 16, they had to fend for themselves. Years passed, and the sisters rose from their grief. They worked hard with Sarah's values as their guiding light. Dayo became a businesswoman, Ayo a teacher, and Biola, defying all odds, became a nurse. Biola's health improved thanks to careful management and her sister's support. 10 years after Sarah's death, they decided to honor her with a grand remembrance ceremony. One day, while preparing for the remembrance ceremony, Dayo was on her way to pick up the Ankara outfits from her tailor for the remembrance. Dayo encountered a van full of 8 men. They blocked her car on a one-way road. "You idiot! Can't you see this is a one-way road? Reverse now," one of them shouted. Dayo argued, insisting she had the right of way, until one of the men lost patience and gave her a resounding slap. Embarrassed and furious, Dayo considered retaliating but decided against it, choosing to reverse instead. Moments later, as she parked her car, chaos erupted. The van's occupants, armed robbers, began arguing with another driver and soon opened fire, killing everyone who confronted them. Dayo ducked in her car, trembling and praying to God and the spirit of her mother, Sarah. "I'm not ready to meet you yet, Mama. I just want to honor you," she whispered. Terrified, she even wet herself, certain she would be killed. The robbers operated for 30 minutes, but miraculously, they spared Dayo. When they finally drove off, passers-by opened Dayo's car, assuming she was dead. Dayo jumped out, hysterical, running and screaming until a woman dragged her into a store, poured water on her, and held her until she calmed down. Someone helped her drive home, where she recounted the terrifying ordeal to her family. Dayo later told her children, "Never let anger rule you. If I had reacted, I wouldn't be here today." The lesson stayed with them for years. A few days later, Dayo and her sisters continued planning for the remembrance ceremony with love. Dayo, now 34, took charge of the preparations. They hired caterers, decorated a hall with gold and white, and invited family and friends who had supported them. The centerpiece of the ceremony was a large portrait of Sarah. draped in gold fabric, symbolizing her enduring presence. The sisters spoke emotionally during the ceremony. Dayo recounted Sarah's sacrifices. Ayo shared memories of her mother's warmth and wisdom, and Biola thanked her for the strength to fight through her illness. Guests were moved to tears, and the event was a true celebration of Sarah's legacy. As the remembrance ceremony continued, a man dressed in tattered clothing wandered in asking for food. His hair was disheveled, and his eyes carried years of hardship. The caterers, who were full of kindness, gave him food and water. The man didn't recognize his daughters, and after quietly eating his food, left, heading back to sleep under a nearby bridge. Life had been cruel to Samuel. After abandoning his family, he drifted from one odd job to another until he lost everything. On the streets, he often thought of Sarah and the daughters he had left behind. One day, he ran into Sarah's sister Ibidun at a market. Samuel, frail and desperate, fell to his knees and begged for forgiveness. Ibidun, I've made mistakes. Many mistakes. Please, let me see my daughters, he pleaded. Ibidun, though angry, pitied him. She gave him Dayo's phone number, but warned him not to cause them any more pain. For weeks, Samuel struggled with guilt and fear. How could he face the daughters he had abandoned? Finally, he mustered the courage to call Dayo. Each time he hung up before she could answer, unable to find the words. One day, Samuel collapsed on the street and was rushed to a hospital. Doctors diagnosed him with kidney failure. As he lay on the hospital bed staring at the ceiling, he realized he had no time left. He dialed Dayo's number one last time. "Hello?" Dayo answered. Samuel's voice trembled. "It's your father." "Samuel?" Dayo froze. Memories of her mother's tears and their childhood struggles came flooding back. She hung up and immediately called Ayo and Biola. They were furious but conflicted. After weeks of deliberation, they decided to see him, remembering Sarah's forgiving nature. When they arrived, Samuel's condition had worsened. He broke into tears at the sight of them. "I'm sorry," he whispered. I failed you all." Biola, now a nurse, held his hand. "We forgive you," she said softly. Samuel's eyes filled with gratitude. He passed away shortly after, holding their hands. Despite their pain, the sisters felt a sense of closure, knowing they had honored their mother's spirit of forgiveness. The sisters continued to thrive, raising their children with the values Sarah had taught them: love, resilience, and forgiveness. Dayo often shared her harrowing experience with the armed men as a lesson in humility and self-control. Biola, now married with children, used her nursing skills to help others with sickle cell disease. Ayo instilled hope in her students, reminding them that no matter how dark life seemed, light could always shine through. Sarah's spirit lived on in her daughters. They were her legacy, and through them her sacrifices were never forgotten. The story of the three sisters and their mother's love became a tale shared across Ondo State, a reminder that even in pain and loss, love and forgiveness can heal all wounds. How did this story make you feel? Can you relate to any part of Sarah's struggles or resilience? And what do you think is the most important lesson from this story? Please share your insights in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more educative and inspiring stories. Don't forget to also share with families and friends to spread the message. Thank you.